Good morning. I hope you are doing well today, and I am sorry if I came a little early, but I was really worried about my car because it has been making strange noises since yesterday evening, and I felt uncomfortable driving it for a long distance without checking it properly.
Good morning, madam. You do not need to apologize at all because it is always better to come early when you feel something is wrong with your vehicle. And I am doing well today, thank you for asking. So please feel free to tell me everything you noticed about the car in detail.
Thank you for saying that, because honestly, I do not know much about vehicles, and sometimes I feel nervous explaining these things. But since yesterday, when I was driving back home from work, I started hearing a light knocking sound from the front side of the car, especially when I slowed down or turned the steering wheel gently.
That is completely fine, madam. You do not need technical knowledge to explain the problem because your experience as the driver is more important for me. And from what you are saying, it sounds like the noise could be related to the suspension, the steering system, or even the brake components, but we will check everything carefully before making any conclusion.
I am really relieved to hear that because last night I kept thinking about it and I even searched online, but there were so many confusing explanations that I felt more stressed instead of relaxed, and I decided it would be better to talk to a real mechanic face to face.
You made the right decision, madam, because online information can be useful sometimes, but it can also make people worry unnecessarily. So now let me ask you a few simple questions, and please answer slowly and comfortably, because this will help me understand the problem more clearly.
Yes, of course. Please go ahead, and I will try my best to explain everything properly, even if I am not sure about some things.
First of all, madam, can you tell me when exactly you hear the sound? For example, does it happen when you start the car, when you drive at high speed, or only when you slow down or turn?
From what I noticed, the sound does not appear when I start the car, and it also does not happen much when I drive fast on the main road, but it becomes more noticeable when I slow down near traffic lights, speed bumps, or when I turn the steering wheel to park the car.
That is very helpful information, madam, because it already tells me that the problem might not be related to the engine itself, and instead it could be connected to parts that move when the car changes direction or speed, such as the steering joints, control arms, or even worn brake pads.
I see. That makes sense when you explain it like that. And now that I think about it, I also felt a slight vibration on the steering wheel, not very strong, but enough to make me notice it and feel uncomfortable.
Thank you for mentioning that, madam, because even small vibrations can give important clues, and they usually indicate that some component is not working smoothly anymore. So what I will do first is a full inspection of the front area, and after that, if needed, we can take the car for a short test drive together.
I appreciate that you are explaining everything so clearly, because usually when I visit workshops, I feel like things are done very quickly without much explanation, and it makes me feel unsure about what is actually happening to my vehicle.
I understand that feeling very well, madam, and I believe that every customer deserves a clear explanation, especially because a vehicle is not just a machine, but something you depend on every day for your safety, your work, and your family.
That is exactly how I feel, because I use this car daily to go to my office, to buy groceries, and sometimes to visit my parents, so I really want to make sure it is safe and reliable.
Absolutely, madam. Safety always comes first. And now, before I start checking the vehicle, may I ask when was the last time you had a full service done, including brakes, suspension, and steering components?
Let me think for a moment. I believe I did a full service about 8 months ago, but I'm not sure if they checked everything in detail because I mostly asked for an oil change and basic inspection at that time.
That information is also very useful, madam, because some parts slowly wear out over time, especially if the roads are rough or if the car is driven daily. So even if everything looked fine 8 months ago, it's possible that some components now need attention.
Yes, that sounds reasonable, especially because the road near my house has many potholes, and I cannot always avoid them no matter how carefully I drive.
That explains a lot, madam, because bad road conditions can put extra pressure on suspension and steering parts. So now, please relax for a few minutes. You can sit in the waiting area, and I will start inspecting your vehicle step by step, and I will come back to update you soon.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your calm attitude and clear explanations, and I already feel more relaxed than when I arrived here earlier.
Madam Emma, thank you for waiting patiently, and I want to tell you that I have completed the first stage of the inspection, and I took my time to check everything carefully because I know how important it is for you to fully understand what is happening with your vehicle.
Thank you for coming back to explain, Ravi, and I really appreciate that you are taking the time to talk to me properly, because I was sitting there wondering what you might have found, and I was hoping the problem would not be too serious.
I completely understand that feeling, madam, and the good news is that the issue is not very dangerous at the moment, but it is something that should be repaired soon to prevent bigger problems in the future, which could also cost more money if ignored for a long time.
That is a relief to hear, but at the same time, I am a little worried. So could you please explain clearly what exactly is causing the noise and vibration that I have been experiencing while driving?
Of course, madam, and I will explain everything in very simple words. So, after lifting the car and checking the front suspension area, I noticed that one of the front control arm bushings is worn out, which means the rubber part that helps absorb shocks and keeps the wheel stable is no longer doing its job properly.
I see. Even though I do not fully understand what a control arm is, I can imagine that if a rubber part is worn out, it would cause extra movement and noise when the car goes over bumps or turns.
You are absolutely right, madam, and you explained it very well, because the control arm connects the wheel to the car body, and when the rubber bushing becomes weak or cracked, the metal parts start moving more than they should, which causes knocking sounds and small vibrations that you feel through the steering wheel.
That explanation actually makes a lot of sense now, and I'm glad it's not something related to the engine because engine problems always sound very scary and expensive.
Yes, madam, engine problems are usually more complex, but in your case, the engine is running smoothly. And I also checked the brake pads, brake discs, and steering joints. And although they show normal wear, they are still in acceptable condition and do not need immediate replacement.
That is really good news, and I feel more relaxed hearing that. But I want to ask honestly, is it safe for me to continue driving the car for a few days if I cannot fix it immediately due to my work schedule?
That is a very good and responsible question, madam. And to be honest, you can drive the car for a short period, but I would not recommend driving on very rough roads or at high speed, because the worn bushing could get worse and affect the wheel alignment or tire wear.
I understand, and I appreciate your honesty because I prefer to know the real situation instead of being told something just to make me feel comfortable.
Thank you for saying that, madam, because trust is very important between a mechanic and a customer, and my job is not only to repair vehicles, but also to make sure you feel confident and informed about your decisions.
That attitude really means a lot to me, and now I would like to know what the repair process would involve and how much time it might take, because I need to plan my day and maybe inform my office.
Certainly, madam. So the repair involves removing the old worn control arm bushing and replacing it with a new high-quality one. And after that, we will also do a wheel alignment check because replacing suspension parts can slightly change the wheel position.
That sounds reasonable, and how long would this entire process usually take, assuming there are no unexpected issues?
In normal conditions, madam, the repair would take about 2 to 3 hours, including proper installation, tightening, and alignment checks, because I believe in doing the job carefully rather than rushing it.
I actually like that approach because I would rather wait a little longer and know that the work is done properly instead of facing the same problem again after a short time.
Exactly, madam. And that mindset will save you time, money, and stress in the long run. And now, if you would like, I can also explain the cost details slowly and clearly so you can decide comfortably without any pressure.
Yes, please. I would appreciate a clear explanation about the cost, because sometimes I feel confused when I only hear numbers without understanding what I am paying for.
That is completely understandable, madam. So the main cost includes the new control arm bushing, labor for installation, and the wheel alignment service. And I will write everything down for you in a transparent way so there are no hidden charges or surprises later.
Thank you. Your clear communication really helps me feel confident, and I'm starting to feel that I made the right decision by bringing my car here today.
Madam Emma, now that I have explained the technical side of the issue in a simple way, I would like to slowly go through the cost details with you, so you can clearly understand where the money goes and feel comfortable before making any decision.
Yes, I really appreciate that approach because in the past, I often felt rushed or pressured during these discussions, and it made me feel unsure and uncomfortable. But now I feel calm and ready to listen carefully.
That is exactly how it should be, madam. So first, I will talk about the replacement part itself, which is the control arm bushing. And I recommend using a good quality part instead of a very cheap one, because the quality directly affects how long it will last and how smoothly your car will drive.
I understand that, and honestly, I prefer to pay a little more now if it means I will not have to come back again soon with the same problem, especially because my time is also valuable.
That is a very wise way of thinking, madam. And based on your vehicle model and usage, the recommended bushing will give better durability and comfort, and it also reduces noise and vibration, which you were already feeling while driving.
That sounds good. And please continue explaining the rest because I want to fully understand the labor cost and any additional charges involved.
Of course, madam. So the labor cost covers the careful removal of the old worn bushing, proper installation of the new one using correct tools, and safety checks to ensure everything is tightened and aligned correctly, because even a small mistake in this process can affect driving safety.
I did not realize that so much attention was needed for such a small part, but now I can see why professional work is important and why it should not be rushed.
Exactly, madam. And after replacing the bushing, we also include a wheel alignment check, because suspension work can slightly change wheel angles, and correct alignment helps your tires wear evenly and improves steering control.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I recently replaced my tires and I really want them to last as long as possible without uneven wear.
That is another good reason to do the alignment, madam. And now, when we add the part cost, labor, and alignment service together, I will give you a total estimate. And please remember that this is a clear and final estimate unless we find something unexpected, which I will always discuss with you first.
Thank you for being transparent, Robbie, because that makes me feel respected as a customer and confident about agreeing to the repair.
You are most welcome, madam, and I always believe that a customer should never feel confused or pressured. So please take your time now and tell me honestly if you would like to go ahead with the repair today or if you need some time to think or plan.
I have thought about it while listening to your explanation, and considering the safety aspect and my daily travel needs, I feel it is better to fix the issue today instead of delaying it and worrying every time I drive.
That sounds like a responsible and practical decision, madam, and I will make sure the work is done carefully and efficiently. And during the repair, if you have any questions or want to see the parts, you are always welcome to ask.
I actually like that idea because seeing the old part might help me understand better and learn something new about my car, which I think is useful for the future.
Absolutely, madam. Learning a little about your vehicle can make you feel more confident. And now, before I begin the repair, may I ask if you have noticed any other small issues recently, such as unusual smells, warning lights, or changes in fuel efficiency?
Now that you mention it, I have noticed that my fuel efficiency feels slightly lower than before, but I was not sure if it was just my imagination or related to traffic and road conditions.
That is a very common concern, madam, and while it may not be directly related to the suspension issue, after completing the main repair, I can quickly check the air filter and tire pressure, because these small things can also affect fuel efficiency.
That would be really helpful, Ravi, and I appreciate that you are thinking beyond just the main problem and looking at the overall condition of my car.
It is my pleasure, madam, because a vehicle works as a system, and taking care of small things regularly helps avoid bigger problems later. So now, if you are comfortable, I will start the repair, and I will keep you updated on the progress.
Yes, please go ahead, Ravi, and thank you once again for your patience, clear explanations, and respectful communication, because it has made this experience much easier and more positive for me.
Madam Emma, thank you very much for your patience, and I am happy to tell you that the repair work has been completed successfully and everything was done carefully according to proper safety standards.
That is really good to hear, Ravi. And honestly, the time passed quickly because I felt relaxed knowing that the car was in good hands. So I am curious to know how everything went during the repair.
I am glad you asked, madam, because while removing the old control arm bushing, I noticed that it was more worn than expected, which clearly explains the noise and vibration you were feeling. And I have kept the old part here if you would like to see it.
Yes, I would love to see it because I think it will help me understand the problem better and remember this experience in the future.
As you can see here, madam, the rubber part is cracked and loose, which means it could no longer absorb shocks properly, and this is why the metal parts were moving slightly and making that knocking sound when you slowed down or turned.
Now that I'm looking at it closely, I can clearly see the damage, and it makes me realize how important even small parts are in keeping the car stable and comfortable.
Exactly, madam, and the new bushing has been installed securely, all bolts have been tightened to the correct level, and after that, we also completed the wheel alignment, which will help your steering feel smoother and your tires wear evenly.
That sounds very reassuring, and I already feel more confident just listening to your explanation. So, do you recommend a test drive now to feel the difference?
Yes, madam, I was about to suggest the same thing, because a short test drive will help you personally feel the improvement, and it also allows us to confirm that everything is working perfectly.
All right, let us do that, because I'm actually excited to see how the car feels now compared to before.
Please go ahead and start the car, madam, and drive slowly at first, and then you can turn the steering wheel gently and go over that small, uneven patch ahead.
I can already feel the difference, Ravi, because the steering feels much smoother, and I don't hear that knocking sound anymore, even when I turn or slow down.
That is exactly the result we were aiming for, madam, and I am very happy to hear that the problem has been resolved and that you feel comfortable while driving again.
Honestly, I feel a big sense of relief because driving without strange noises makes me feel safer and more confident, especially knowing that the issue was explained and fixed properly.
That means a lot to me, madam, because customer satisfaction and safety are always my top priorities. And before you leave, I would like to give you a few simple tips to help maintain your vehicle in good condition.
Yes, please. I would really appreciate some basic advice, especially in simple words that I can remember easily.
Of course, madam. So first, try to slow down as much as possible when driving over potholes or speed bumps, even if you cannot avoid them completely, because this reduces stress on suspension parts. And second, make sure to check tire pressure regularly, because correct pressure improves comfort and fuel efficiency.
That sounds easy enough to follow, and I will definitely pay more attention to these small things from now on.
Also, madam, it is a good habit to listen to your car because unusual sounds, vibrations, or warning lights are early signs that something needs attention, and fixing problems early usually saves money and stress.
I completely agree with that now, because if I had ignored the sound, it could have turned into a bigger and more expensive issue later.
Exactly, madam. And now everything is ready. Your car is safe to drive. And if you ever have questions or concerns in the future, you are always welcome to come back or call me.
Thank you so much, Ravi, not only for fixing my car, but also for treating me with respect, patience, and kindness, because this experience has changed how I feel about visiting a mechanic.
You are most welcome, madam, and it was truly a pleasure helping you today. So drive safely, take care, and I wish you a smooth and comfortable journey ahead.
Thank you again, Ravi, and I will definitely recommend your workshop to my friends and family, because good service like this deserves appreciation.
That means a lot, madam, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future, hopefully only for regular maintenance and not for any problems.
Subscribe English Paper to learn English.